Okay, so what's the right microphone for you, and what are the things that you need to look for and ask yourself when searching for that microphone? Let's get into it. So this is an update to a previous video that I did, but I want this video to be the most comprehensive, in-depth video about what microphone is best for you specifically and the things that you need to ask yourself and look for when trying to find that specific microphone. If you watched the first video I did about this topic, you'll know there is no one best microphone for voiceover, but there is a best microphone for you specifically. So let me know if you have any questions or suggestions in the comments, and don't forget to check out my Pt.2 page where I've listed all of my recommended equipment and why I recommend it. Link in the description. Okay, so what are the questions you need to ask yourself when looking for a microphone for voiceover? Number 1, what type of microphone? USB, XLR, shotgun, dynamic, condenser? What type of voice do you have? Do you have a sibilance issue? What's the EQ curve or response of the microphone? And will it be suitable for your voice? What are you going to be recording? Professional voiceover, meaning that you want to make this a career and you want to compete with the top people in the voice acting industry? Or is this just a hobby for you and you really enjoy this and you just find it fun to do? And most importantly, what is the space that you're recording in? How is it acoustically treated? Or how not acoustically treated is the space? How much sound is leaking into the space? How soundproofed is the space that you're recording in? If you're recording in a space with a gigantic window, it's probably not going to give you good results. And what are the dimensions of the space? Is it a really small space or is it a really large space? As you can see, there's a lot of questions that go into finding what microphone is going to be best for you specifically. So with all of those questions listed out, let's go through them one by one and break them down. What type of microphone? USB or XLR? Okay, now let me start with this so nobody gets offended. USB microphones have gotten really good really fast, but at the time of this video, they're still not quite where they need to be, and they're not up to par with XLR microphones. So with that said, all of the cons that I'm gonna list out for USB microphones here, they don't apply to every single USB microphone out there, but they do apply to the majority of them. Okay, let's start with the pros. So why would somebody use a USB microphone over an XLR microphone? Well, ease of use. Plug and play. You can literally just plug them straight into your computer because you don't need an interface to power these microphones. With an XLR microphone, you need to plug that microphone into an interface, and then you need to plug that interface into your computer in order to have that microphone be powered. A USB microphone doesn't need an audio interface to power the microphone, so you get to skip a step. You just plug your USB microphone into your computer, and for the most part, you're ready to go. Now, I actually consider this a con, not a pro, but we'll get to that in a second. Portability. A USB microphone is super easy to take with you on vacation because most of the time they happen to be pretty compact, not all of them, but it's just easier to take a USB microphone with you and your laptop versus if you were to take an XLR microphone, like this Aston Origin, you would have to take the microphone, a laptop, and an audio interface. So you would have 3 things to take with you versus just 2 if you take a USB microphone and your computer. All right, no interface required. Now, like I said, I consider this a con, but most newbies that don't want to learn what an interface does and how to use it, they would consider this a pro because, like I said, they don't have to learn what an interface actually does and how to properly use it. But I consider this a con because you lose a lot of flexibility with your audio and a lot of quality when you're not using an audio interface and an XLR microphone, but we'll get to that. But that being said, if you're just streaming or if you're doing YouTube videos and you're not worried about making a career out of voiceover specifically, then by all means just use a USB microphone. The good news is as long as you have great microphone technique, you understand how to properly use your piece of equipment, you're still going to get pretty good audio. It just wouldn't pass for competitive level voiceover. USB microphones, like I said earlier, have gotten really good really fast, and honestly, in just a few years, I think they will be on par with a lot of XLR microphones, just not quite yet. Okay, now on to cons. Why would you not want to use a USB microphone? They're cheaply made. Again, not all of them, but the majority of them, to save money, they are cheaply made. And that presents a lot of issues down the line that we're about to get into. So they're typically more noisy. And so I'm gonna pick on the Blue Yeti here because most of you probably know what that microphone is. Now let me first say, the microphone doesn't sound that bad as far as how it captures and records the voice. The issue with this microphone is, or One of the main issues with this microphone is the fact that it is really noisy. So one of the things in an audio interface that allows the microphone to be powered and record audio is what's known as a preamp. A preamp is built into the interface, and like I said, it's what powers the microphone and captures the audio. Well, this is also what they cram into a USB microphone to allow you to not need an interface to power and record from that microphone. And because they cram a preamp into this microphone so that you can just plug it straight into your laptop and record, most of the time it's a cheaper preamp, and that will introduce a lot of noise into your audio. A lot of hiss or white noise is what it sounds like. And because of this, this causes most USB microphones, not all, but most USB microphones to just not be up to par for professional level voiceover. More that can go wrong over time. So because they cram so much tech into these microphones to allow you to not need an audio interface, there are more things in that one piece of tech that can go wrong over time and fail, which makes USB microphones not as reliable as XLR microphones, and as a professional voice actor, you need reliability out of your microphone. Lower sample rate and bit depth. So you can think of sample rate like that of resolution in an image or in a video. So if you're watching TV and you're watching something in 720, it's gonna look kind of fuzzy, it's gonna look kind of, not clear. It's not going to be crisp. Well, the same goes for microphones at a lower sample rate. The audio is going to seem like that of a 720 image. It's not going to sound as high resolution. Maybe it'll sound a little muffled. It just won't be as crisp and as clear like an image that's in 1080 or even 4K. That's really sharp, really crisp, really clear. You can think of bit depth like that of a camera that has a really great sensor that can capture really bright brights and really dark darks. If it doesn't have a really good sensor, or if it's a cheaper camera, really bright brights will get blown out in that image and you won't be able to recover the data from that bright image. Or really dark darks in an image will get really noisy and really gross looking. And that's the same with bit depth in a microphone. So bit depth is what allows you to record really loud noises and really quiet noises and everything in between. So lower sample rates and lower bit depth will give you lower quality audio. And most USB microphones can only record in lower sample rates and lower bit depths. Again, not all of them, but a lot of them. If all of that information was a little confusing, don't worry. In my courses and in my classes, we cover this kind of information in great detail. You can find the links in the description of this video. They can only record a smaller frequency range. So much like the last things that I just said, most USB microphones can't record really low sounds and really high pitch sounds, which leaves them feeling a little empty or a little thin. Again, this is changing pretty quickly as we speak, so cool. Most don't have a gain knob. So this is a pretty big limitation for USB microphones. So in my DAW courses that I teach, one of the main things we do in week 1 is I have everybody properly set their levels, because that's one of the many steps that you need to take in order to have professional sounding audio. Well, the problem is if some of my students have USB microphones, most of the time those microphones don't have a gain knob. So when they're going to set their levels, they can't properly set their levels because there's no way for them to. And because of this, they're stuck with whatever gain the microphone is set to when they get it. And this doesn't give them the flexibility to set their levels properly and get the best sounding audio they possibly can. They're getting more expensive. Another con is the fact that they are easier to use, and because they're easier to use, the industry knows most people are gonna buy USB microphones because they don't have to learn a bunch of other stuff like an audio interface and what those things do. Because of this, they know most people are going to buy those products, and because of that, they upcharge those products and make them more expensive than they should be. So that's not fun. But look, we live in a time of instant gratification. I'm guilty of it. We all are guilty of it at one point or another, and we want to just buy something, plug it in, have it work, and go. And because of this, they get to charge more for it because they know we're gonna buy it. Not industry standard. And then finally, the fact that no professional studio that you walk into, which isn't a ton these days because they want you to record from your home studio, which means you really need to have a good sounding home studio. But if you walk into a professional studio, you're gonna see them using an XLR microphone. They're not gonna be using a USB microphone, which means USB microphones are just not industry standard. And to a client, it's just not gonna sound like you're a professional if they ask you, what microphone do you use? And you're like, oh, it's a Blue Yeti. And they're gonna be like, what? Oh, no. we're gonna use someone else. Okay, real quick bonus tip. If you are using a USB microphone and you're charging your laptop at the same time that you have your USB microphone plugged into your laptop and you're recording audio, you will likely get some interference in the audio. So if that's the case, make sure that you're not charging your laptop at the same time that you're recording audio with a USB microphone. Cool. And if going with the USB microphone, this is the microphone that I use when I go on vacation and things like that. So if I do want the ease of use when I'm traveling, I use this microphone. It's tiny, super compact, super easy to use, and it actually sounds really amazing for it to be a USB microphone. And you have a little gain knob right here. So that's pretty cool. Okay, XLR. Let's start with the pros. Why would you want to use an XLR microphone over a USB microphone? Well, basically just take all of the cons of the USB microphone that we just covered, flip them around, and you pretty much have the pros for an XLR microphone. For the most part, they're way more durable, they're built better, not made out of cheap material, they are industry standard, so no matter what professional studio you walk into, they're going to be using an XLR microphone. They record at higher sample rates, higher bit depths, they capture a full range of frequencies with the audio, which is super low lows and super high highs, so they just sound really full. And now one of the best parts is they're super affordable. One of the main microphones that I recommend is the Rode NT1, and most of the time it's like $270, and that is incredibly affordable, especially at the quality that that microphone puts out. Not that long ago, in order for you to have a professional home studio, it would cost you a ton of money. But nowadays, it costs almost nothing compared to what it used to cost back in the day, so it's pretty awesome. Okay, now on to the cons. It requires an audio interface. So, like I said, to me this is not a con, but I know for a lot of people they consider it a con because they don't want to learn how to use an audio interface, but I promise you it's really not as hard as you think it is. It's just intimidating from the outside looking in. But again, in my courses, in my classes, I teach how to use an audio interface, what all the buttons and knobs do, and why we set them the way we set them, and how to set them. And by the time we're done, you're gonna go, oh, that was super easy and I just didn't know. So no reason to be intimidated at all. And another bonus tip, cheap cables can cause buzz, hiss, and hum and other unpleasant artifacts in your audio. So when you do buy a microphone, most of the time it's going to come with a really cheap cable. What I suggest is throwing that cable out and getting a Megami Gold XLR cable. Those are the cables that I always recommend. No, I'm not sponsored by Megami. You hear that, Megami? I'm not sponsored. But I've had my Megami Gold cable for over 12 years and I've never had to change it out. I've never had to get it fixed, nothing. It's just running strong and has been for that long. So even though they are a bit expensive, you get what you pay for and you're likely never going to need another cable again. So another good thing is they're quad shielded, meaning they're gonna shield you from a bunch of interference that could potentially get into your audio. So I don't know why you would do this, but if you lay your phone over a cheap cable, you're gonna hear a lot of odd sounding noises in your audio. But if you lay your phone over a Megami Gold cable, you will likely not even hear anything because they're quad shielded. All right, now on to condenser, shotgun, and dynamic microphones. Are you a voice actor? You want to learn Adobe Audition or Audacity? You can sign up for one of my live classes taught 100% virtually over Zoom, which means you can join from the comfort of your own home no matter where you are. And I record each class, and at the end of the night, I send you the recording of class so you can retake this course as many times as you want for the rest of your life. Or if you want to go through the course at your own pace, you can sign up for my on-demand version that you can find over at my website. Link in the description. The good news is, even though the classes cover DAWs like Adobe Audition or Audacity, they are so much more than DAW classes. I don't just cover everything you see on the screen right now. I also have one entire week dedicated to the most important part in making sure you have professional sounding audio. How to acoustically treat and soundproof the space that you're recording in, your home studio. Not only that, but I evaluate your audio and your home studio individually throughout all the weeks in class to make sure your home studio and your audio is just as competitive as the top bookers in the industry. So, if you're interested, you can find links in the description, and if you're not, well, you know what they say.